Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. Ha ha ha. How's everybody doing? Hi, Joy. You got in early. How you doing? So, I wasn't going to go live, but then I started cogitating on stuff and reading comments from viewers and keeping up with the news and watching other creators as I often do. And I say, hey, I want to get up and talk tonight. So that's what I'm going to do. Ha ha. So here I am. I'm talking. Anyway, the big news last night was that UTizzle, this platform, has supposedly removed the prohibition on discussing elections and what they consider to be false claims of election fraud. Okay, all right, we'll go with that. But I still got to be careful on all the other stuff. I don't have the right to perceive, at least the right to discuss my perceptions on this platform yet. So, as many of you know, I got the backup channel on Bumble. So, and I'll be doing a dual broadcast on that soon, or maybe just do it strictly on Bumble. I'm hoping that StreamYard will get with the program where I can see people's comments, and the other service I use does not support Bumble. So man, they got to get with it. Just because they remove that one prohibition doesn't mean they've got a bunch of other prohibitions. So I noticed in the comments last night, I think it was Donna, for instance, she said that, did you see the children's choir getting interrupted at the Capitol? And I hadn't seen it at that time, but after I finished the broadcast, I did see it. I saw a video of it. It was horrendous. And that's why I've got in my thumbnail, no respect. You talk about having no respect for children they were singing very beautifully. You tell they practiced. They weren't conducting a protest, some kind of spur of the moment nonsense. They were standing properly. They were in tune. They were being conducted by their instructor, by their teacher. And well, I guess most all of you in the audience saw it. And to show that kind of disrespect to a group of children like that, to the American people, to everybody in that rotunda that were observing it and enjoying it, and to come interrupted, well, I can tell you what, you don't give respect, you don't get it. You don't get it back. So no, we're not going to have any respect for people that act in that way. We're still going to stay in a lawful manner. But I can say very delicately, not the way I would like to say, that if they were running around with a bunch of, oh gosh, you have to be careful with my words. I am going to put up a photograph of, I believe it's a Merriam-Webster dictionary, the word hedonism. I mean, I'm not talking about anybody. I'm talking about words and definitions of words, literature, Anyway, if they were being unruly, promoting things that are considered to be counterculture, okay, nobody would have interrupted them. Nobody would stop them if they had been approaching those children in a manner that most of us consider to be lewd and lascivious. So, I gotta use these words when I could say it a heck of a lot quicker if I had freedom of speech and without using foul language. Okay, but this perception that I would be hurting people's feelings. Feelings aren't facts, okay? And if their feelings are in controversy with the facts, whose problem is that? It's not my problem. But anyway, so I still got to be careful on this platform. But anybody that's paying attention would come to the same conclusion as I did, that if there's somebody promoting an outside agenda that's not in line with traditional values, they would have been left alone. So anyway, that is my little rant on the interrupting the kids choir. And I did notice Donna's comment during the broadcast. I was reading some of the hard comments in my past videos. I'm going to go over that. And let me see who all's in. I got Damon. I said hi to Joy and Sherry and B-Dog, Melinda, Kim, Tennessee. How are you doing? Wanda, Mary, Roberto. How are you? Hi, Georgia. Hi, Gary. Nice to see you. And I got your message. And I thank you so much for your support, buddy. And I saw your comment at the very end after I said over and OUT, and I hit the button. Boom. Well, we appreciate you coming and joining us in the chats. That's for sure, Gary. Hi, Doug. Hi, Em. Hi, Ann. Mike, 1776, 1176. Do I keep saying 1776? I don't know. But anyway, yeah. Stuff like that has got to be put out there. Video clips. They've got short video clips of the interruption. It needs to be shared with people who are not tuned in yet. They don't realize how this minority group has been dominating our culture, our businesses, our government, and it's all by design. And yeah, people got to start showing that stuff around. But I have in my thumbnail also, negligence is costly, very costly. And I had shown in my past broadcasts a picture of a, quote, student, and it was one of the early ones in Loudoun County, Virginia, who went into a girl's restroom, right, and assaulted somebody, another student. And that led to the big Target business of Target letting everybody use the bathrooms. That was around the same time. So the mother spoke at a board of supervisors meeting after the quote child got transferred to another school and got in trouble again. And the mother went up in front of a school board, and next time I do a picture show, I'll put pictures of them up. I mean, name them and shame them, put them up there. And she said a 15-year-old girl should have been more able to defend themselves. In other words, her son / transition to a daughter that committed that act, she's making the excuse that the person who was the victim of that advancement, physical act, I'll say, that they should have been raised better. Well, I had been raised better to defend themselves. They should have had the ability. So this happened a while back. I mean, last year or before. Maybe it was late the year before that. I don't remember. But I wanted to bring up a point in some of my past broadcasts, but the broadcast went on too long. I had a lot of stuff on the plate, stuff always happening. I want to remind people that with tort law, somebody commits a tort against another person. I said that that was written in the laws of the United States, which I said is under 11.3 Code of the United States, legal codes of the United States. 11.4, I believe, is treaties. So that's what I was saying. Hey, 11.3 also not only refers to Department of Defense laws of war, but it also refers to our civil law in a separate book, 11.3. What am I getting to? I'm going round and round here. Everybody's heard about the Alex Murdaugh case. What he did, and if you haven't, a quick synopsis is he was a very wealthy attorney who was addicted to drugs, and he ended up being convicted of murder for his wife and son. And the lead up to that story, and if you, there's plenty of videos on it, you can see. One of the main things in that story was the son that got it, so to speak, was involved in a boat accident, was piloting a boat at the age of 17, underage, and a jury found Alex Murdaugh liable for negligent parenting. Negligent parenting. Now, the jury awarded the family of a young lady that died in a boat wreck $30 million. $30 million. And they were collecting on that judgment at the getting ready to seize assets and start collecting on that judgment. When the end, he was also discovered to have been pilfering money from his law firm. And that's when the murders occurred. So anyway, the point being is that there are laws where if it's shown that the way you raised that kid contributed to an injury or a loss. That's the way I was hearing it and reading it in the videos I was watching, that the parents can be held liable. And I was going to bring that up and especially show the picture of that mother who had the nerve to say that the victim of her child's, I would say, well, I'll say it, perversion. In my mind, if you force somebody to do something S3 actually to that is a perversion. Okay, it's criminal. All right, and we've had prisons and we got them now for the criminally insane. And I showed a graph how our mental institutions are gone, but our prison population has gone way up. So I think a lot of these parents who are encouraging the type of things we've been talking about, when things go haywire, when the child does something wrong, and if it can be shown that the parent, I'll take the church school situation, even though that person was how old? 28, I think it was. But then you have the Uvalde situation. That person was a minor. If I'm correct, that was a situation. And they tracked down the mother, right? And she'd been in the country 20 years. She was sitting in a car and someone was trying to interview her and she was saying, me, no, Me no, like she didn't understand English. Okay, you've been here 20 some years and you got your kid out here taking other people's lives and you no. Well, you better no. I mean, that's what we need to do is hold people responsible for their children when they do things, when they have been raised in such a manner that encourages or endorses or uh, otherwise contributes to a loss, injury, or like in the case of the boat wreck, loss of life. So let's see. I've been going on. Let me see what's going on in the comments. And I tell you, it's interesting to read. The hi Rick, how are you doing? I didn't see you in there. Read the comments after videos go on because some people respond to some of the chats or bring up points we hadn't thought of. Hi, Lone Wolf, how you doing? Hi, Ann. Let's see. Hi, Donna. I was talking about you earlier. It was all good, Donna. I was talking about the choir being interrupted and how I noticed your comment. Lalo, how you? Let's see. Yep, the Ten Commandment thing, that was Judge Roy Moore. Let's see. Hi, Kim. Let's see. If you go back into that family, it's all suspect. Yeah, all the way back to great granddaddy. But for the purposes of what we're dealing with in our society, they were a powerful family, but they had to pay for the way they raised their child. That's my point. And these mothers that are going around here, as far as I'm concerned, making their children mentally ill, they need to pay a price. And the children that snap out of it, like some of the young ladies that I've featured in my past videos, those children should be able to sue the doctors, the therapists, and if need be, the parents. And all that stuff's going to be coming around. But yeah, I would say that woe is it for the parent that encouraged a child to descend into madness if they do something to hurt others and they're still a minor and it can be proven that the parent was culpable. And that needs to be every situation that something like that happens, whether it's where the kid was accosted in the school at Loudoun County, all the way up to what happened at the Uvalde school shooting. So anyway, let's see. Hi, Camperman, how you doing? Yeah, you were missed, Georgia said, and you were. Where you been? I mentioned you the other night, Camperman, too. I said you made a comment right when I signed off the other night. I said, "Holy cow! I didn't even get to say hi to Camperman." So anyway, the time goes by so quick, especially when I get on a soapbox. But anyway, I read that one article about Hunter Biden. Now he's a disgrace, but those of us watching the 17th letter know that there has been some manner of consideration given to him as an individual. He's not going to get a free ride by any means, but there is an acknowledgement that he has led a troubled and difficult life. Okay, he couldn't pick his parents, and he's probably at a very, very, very young age, seen things that no child should ever have to see. Okay. And that's the product. That's the product of what he's become. But the latest is that he hadn't been charged with this gun situation. He bought a gun in DC, and he omitted the fact that he was had been treated for a drug addiction, or was maybe fibbed and said he wasn't addicted to drugs or something like that. And word is leaked out that as his defense, he's going to use the Second Amendment to keep him out of trouble for that charge, saying that, taking away somebody's right to protect themselves or keep and bear arms because they're accused of being a drug addict violates his Second Amendment rights. I'm sorry. So that is going to be interesting to see how that plays out, because I remember Clarence Thomas was pretty vociferous at a SCOTUS hearing where they were discussing red flag laws, and they were saying that somebody who got in an argument with their spouse or something, also something else that was nonviolent, they lost their rights to keep and bear arms. So that is going to be put in the hopper, and we're going to see what happens with that. I thought it was pretty interesting and pretty ironic. And I have said, and I maintain, and a lot of people maintain, that Hunter is cooperating. He's put both the Biden brothers out there in public. I went over it with Tony Bobulinski, and where they laid out their criminal activity right in front of him, and he's got a top clearance in the military. He's also a very wealthy financier. But anyway, I think Hunter's playing along, so he will have some scrap of a life after this is over with. And people are saying, where's Hunter? Well, it could be getting to the point where, he's going to have to be worried, not so much about his own father, probably that too, but the other people that he might expose. They're not above going after people, as we found out from Tara Reid moving to Moscow. Tara Reid, okay, because she feels unsafe after what she's been through with Joe Biden and the gang. So I don't know. A lot of people are saying, where's Hunter? And they haven't seen him. So maybe it's getting a little too toasty for him. But he's definitely a high value witness. A high value witness. So anyway, I tell you, Kirsten, I want to thank Kirsten. She helped me out too. Also last night, along with Gary this morning, I noticed she visited the Buy Me Coffee, and I appreciate that, Kirsten, when you do listen to this broadcast. And she gave me a nice comment, since I'm going to be talking about your comments, that I brought up things that a lot of people hadn't talked about, and it gives people a new perspective. Well, I was in my notes, I was going to bring up another point. To never forget, for those of you who watch some of my broadcasts, where I talked about Montezuma and Cortez, and how the conquistadors were totally astounded at the sacrifices, the temple, the demonic nature of daily life. And also, I was talking about Mr. T dealing very delicately with the thing in your shoulder. And I was defending him and what actually was going on. I talked about his dealing with it himself, him getting Regeneron and saying he considered it to be like the thing in your arm, all that stuff I went over. But the other point I wanted to make was to never forget, like with Cortez's men, there were people in that culture that wanted to walk up the steps to the top of that temple. They were so inured into that belief system, they felt it was their duty to go up there, and what they used was a piece of obsidian. Obsidian is is glass, basically, like volcanic glass, and it can be made very sharp, and that's what they used. Okay, so people they would get themselves drugged up. They would chew on certain types of leaves and take some kind of frog potion or something like that, and be standing in line to go up to the top of the temple for their turn. Okay, if you know what I'm saying, folks, you know what I'm talking about, right? You know what happened at the top of the steps of the temple, right? So anyway, without being too convoluted, there are people that want to be involved. They don't know why, but they are devoted. They were devoted to getting that thing in the shoulder. You couldn't have stopped them even if you tried. They would demand it. One of the memes I got taken down for on Facebook 2 years ago, over 2 years ago, right when the thing broke out. It was a picture of Trump with a big smile and waving, and all around him there were protesters holding up signs. And the top of the meme said, Trump cures, and then he used the word CVID, right? And all the people with the sign said, we want CVID. We need C, and then you know the rest of the word vid, right? We demand CVID, right? And that meme got taken down, and I got taken off of Facebook for 2 weeks over that meme. And I'm going to dig it up. I want to find it. Because back then I wasn't saving stuff. And when they took me down, they didn't take me down for good, but I couldn't even access the daggone thing. So anyway, just remember those people. And I'm not picking on Mesoamericans. I can tell stories about Eastern Europe, Germania, after the Battle of Teutoburg Forest in 70 or 9 AD. I'm sorry, 9 AD. Do you realize how close that is to the big day, right? 2,000 years ago, there's a battle between the Germanic people and Caesar Augustus, I believe it was. And they were when the Germans won, that was the first time they used the term Germanic. But anyway, they were practicing sacrifice. Okay, it's documented. The captives, the soldiers that they captured. So it's not just Mesoamerica, but that's what I reference, because of Cortez's writings and the history of the situation is much more closer to home. It was sacrifices going on all around the world. So, but there are people that wanted to do it. And that's pretty much what Mr. T was trying to say, that people had been so inured to this, quote, doctrine that they were going to demand it. And Cortez and his men barely got out of there with their lives. And they had a priest with them, and they're trying to bring Christianity, trying to say, hey, look, we live and grow our food by the same sun you all do. You don't have to do this. But they had 100,000 people trying to kill him. So anyway, keep that in mind. It's a little quirk of human nature. And we all know who influences that part of the brain of human nature. We all know who influences that. So anyway, I didn't mean to get off on that beaten path or really off into the weeds. But I'm just saying, for thousands of years, people get themselves in situations where they won't listen to reason, and they want to go to the top of the temple. And what do you do with that? You lay it out there what you can, and if people are intelligent and listening, okay, and they want to use their God-given gift of logic and reason, they would say, hey, I don't want to go up the steps of that temple, right? Well, it was the same thing here for the last 2 years, and there's still people insisting on wearing something on their face. I showed a video of somebody in Costco attacking other people who weren't wearing that thing on their face. So anyway, there you go. Use a 3, Donna. That's right. So, and yeah, Wanda says they went down the volcano. Yeah, but they also willingly gave up their children. So I'm being morbid with that, but it's a fact of history and all out throughout the Bible. But let me see. Let me go over some of these comments. One fellow early on, if I know somebody's not going to mind, I'll mention their names. If not, I'll just say it's a viewer comment, okay? But if I feel comfortable, people won't mind me saying who they are. I'll say who they are. So I briefly discussed this comment in another show. It was about Cash Patel, many booms. And this was a couple of weeks ago. And somebody put in there, they put in still, ... nothing be done, ... plan, ? What plan? How many more Americans got to die before before anyone upholds the OATH to the Constitution? I'm tired of AI, tired of the PSYOP, tired of being tired, not getting the truth, ... The plan sucks. Well, I did address that in past shows about how many things have changed. We're going through a sea change. And I think this business of UTISL lifting the ban on talking about elections. Okay, yeah, the bottom line, money does talk, as Donald Trump says. Those 3 words, money does talk. That's true. But if you couple that with 90 days prior, Susan Wojcicki, who was in charge of Google, suddenly steps down, no warning at all, no heads up, no explanation. You're out of here. And now you're having these things being loosened up. You have Forbes magazine putting out Trump statements that openly discuss things that are verboten on YouTube and they don't get taken down. You've got Rudy Giuliani's channels back up. You got Robert Gavoya talking about very hot topics, and they're still up. What am I getting to? I'm getting into the Truth and Reconciliation Act is starting to be enforced. So, to the person who left that comment, think about those things. Don't think that nothing's happening. The alternative is to have chaos, depression, people overreacting, and a chain reaction. Nothing's more contagious in a distressed society than violence. So we want to minimize that. Okay, so hopefully in my past broadcasts, I've discussed that even more in depth. And then I had the video, Trump team confronts Garland, last stand, outrageous precedents. And Dottie, I haven't seen her in a while. I won't read the whole thing. I'll just pick out some salient points. She said they have been trying to take down our church since the beginning. And she gets into Martin Luther and things like that. But also she says, since the 60s, I've noticed changes that never should have happened. And we were warned by Archbishop Sheen, Archbishop Lefebvre, Mother Angelica. So I lost my church, but never my religion. Now that's I can't presume to say what Pope Benedict's situation was or what he had the ability to do or not do. But I do know that literally with his dying breath, he dropped a missive about inappropriate behaviors being condoned in the church. And I've talked about that in past broadcasts. And yes, I believe he was forcibly removed. So, hi, Sharon. The cat. We appreciate you too. Hi, Robin. How are you doing? Yeah, Wanda said she saw that comment. Yeah, it's good when people express their opinions and their thoughts in a respectful way, a heartfelt way. We've all got different opinions and thoughts and emotions on things. So, but it is good to go back and look at them and leave a comment back. Discussions are a different thing than arguments, right? And Gary says, don't look to man, look to God. That's exactly right. Cameraman, your mom's 95. I'll be good. Well, bless her heart. Yeah, it's hard when a situation like that. Oh, sound went out for hi, Cosette. How are you? Well, I was talking about how they thought that Pope Benedict could have done more before he had to step down. That's right, Ian. Archbishop Vigano, his letter's available, his open letter to Trump. I want to talk about that when I get on Bumble and I'm able to see the chats. There's a couple of things I want to go over on Bumble where I can see what people are saying. That's right. Aha, okay. So let me see what else we have here in the comment garden. Jennifer H. I haven't seen her in a while, but Jennifer H. put up a nice comment. God bless our veterans and soldiers. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for them. God bless their families as they made the ultimate sacrifice also. So that was a community post I put up for Veterans Day. And somebody put up, is Big Mike the reason the left is pushing the Queen agenda, maybe trying to prepare the country for his fourth term in office? So most of us know what that phraseology is, Big Mike. I got a theory on this business about Michelle Obama being placed in a position to run in 2024. A lot of people are talking about it. And I also pointed out how they're not putting up anything over on the radical left side. Okay. All they're going with is Biden. The news is mum on Kamala Harris. There's a comment about her I'll get to in a minute. So there's really nothing out there. They're hiding Bobby Kennedy, okay? So how do you slip one in? They're thinking that Michelle's going to be the one that they're going to try to force through. And I'll get to what I think about that in a future broadcast, because that might just be the boomerang of all boomerangs. So let's see. Finding Dory said 2024 either won't happen or the border being open will be the winning ticket for the next Brandon. I don't know. So, and here are some comments from people I don't usually see in the chat, so I'll leave their name out. Falafel, how you doing? Yeah, we got to play their own game. We got to play their own game. So, somebody put in under the video 2 things I'm watching: the town hall and the remake of Falling Down. That was a community post I put up, and somebody made a comment on that reads, "No, I don't think it's a movie at this stage. Now it's gone too far and not one person held accountable, just memes, and here say nothing will change until 2025. And that's if they don't cheat again. They don't seem to care about 2020. I just don't get it." So, yeah, that's somebody who I don't normally see in our conversations. And maybe he'll start listening to the live streams and join us. And he can listen to some of my past broadcasts where we talk about how much things are actually changing. I'm going to make a list and probably do a short video that I can play during my lives where I have that Fox News post that talks about the Inspector General report. It's on the screen, Fox News, in front of God and everybody, that says the Clinton Foundation and crimes against children. Okay, and that was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 3 years ago. So there's a lot of stuff bubbling because I'll get to Inspector General in a minute. And Smoke Rises said, I despise Biden, but we were very close to Kamala being in charge. Well, there's no difference whether you got Joe, whether you got Kamala, whether you got Big Mike Shell. They all got the same puppet master. So I don't fret one bit. If they say, oh, Joe, they're taking Joe out. He can't think right. He's 25th Amendment. Or if he falls down, they say, oh, he's got an aneurysm. He can't serve. It's going to be meet the new boss, same as the old boss. I don't care which puppet they got up there. It's the puppet master. And that goes for Obama in the basement, too. They say he's really calling shots. He might be communicating the shots, but he's definitely got a puppet master. So, well, Reba, Mr. T said we needed to do it in places where it's legal. That's right. Falafel says if you don't play with the same rules, you will lose, because there are states that it's legal. And that's what Mr. T was saying. I don't think it should be legal in any state. And that, I think, will be addressed in the future. But while it is legal, we need to beat them at their own game. So, whoops. All right. So anyway, I'm not worried about Biden going out, Kamala being in there. She can't think of her own. And Debbie might be in tonight. She said, Debbie King asked if she thought, was asking if I thought we were watching a movie. And that's what the one guy was responding to. And I think to some degree we are watching a movie. We certainly are. I think there's a lot of people that have already been called out and then have been made to play certain roles. And I think a lot of this stuff is being guided, okay, in such a way that the baddies are being forced to show their hands before they're ready to show their hands. And that is waking a lot of Americans up. And I think we got people in key places. I know we have people in key places that are patriots. They're just flying under the radar. And when their time comes, things will start happening. That's why I discourage people from listening to sensationalists. And I keep saying the names. I'm not picking on them. I'm just saying what many of you all know, and new listeners who are just now getting into this stuff. Do not get yourself worked up over people like Mike Penny, Phil Godlewski, okay? And I will say it again, Scott McKay. I was listening to one of his videos. He said, I'm religious, but I don't believe sitting there playing with beads. He's talking about the rosary, okay? I mean, keep that to yourself. If you don't believe in that, but don't make fun of people that say the rosary. And that on top of all the other things I discussed about him. So, and then love vibrations and all this stuff. No, we got to get information. We got to be prepared when the time comes and somebody that doesn't know what's going on asks us what's going on. We got to be mentally prepared and informed to be able to explain to them in terms that does not sound psychotic what our country is going through and what's being done to correct it. What our country is going through is the transgender operation with our children. Okay, they're being influenced in a way that causes human suffering and misery, a 50% suicide rate. Now, why is that? That's one thing. The food is another thing. I wouldn't say that it was a coordinated this by the cabal. No, I would say it's certainly strange that we had all these food factories blow up. We've had all these cows died. We have all these trains derailed, and then people trying to get us to eat bugs, accept bugs put in our food. That's something anybody can talk about. So anyway. Well, should be illegal till someone's 30 years old. Well, definitely everybody that has any doctor that has contributed to that kind of business. I don't think there's any excuse for them, and no reasonable person, no morally certain person would want anything less than jail time for those doctors. They don't deserve a medical license. So here's a comment, and it was where I was discussing the jab, and it says, yeah, that likely would have shut everything down for no telling how many years. I think Trump knew that they already had the thing. They were just waiting to bring it out after they had us on our knees begging for it. That's when I was talking about Trump's strategy with the JAB, rolling it out early before they were ready. They would have had us on our knees begging for it. That's right, with lockdowns, business closing, stuff like that. Funny how the boogeyman just pretty much disappeared, like as soon as the media quit talking about it. That's right. What's going on with the social distancing, all that stuff is looked on now like as something ridiculous. We got a few diehards walking around, still got that thing on their face, but it's getting to the point of ridiculousness now. And we have got to start thinking about recompense, okay? Restitution. People talk about reparations. Well, we need to have restitution. That's something every American get behind because everybody's been damaged. When you go to court, there's such a thing called remedies. A court has to prescribe a remedy if it's been adjudicated that a person has been harmed or wronged in some way. So restitution needs to be the word. They're really slick on how they're getting everybody in California to go, oh, we want reparations for what happened 200 or 300 years ago. No. Those very same people need to understand that we're all getting harmed. We've all lost out over the last 2 or 3 years over this. I can't use the word SCAM, okay, over what happened to this country and around the world. We need restitution, and not just for someone's skin color. Everybody's been harmed. So restitution is the word. Kim says, how do you explain what's been going on for years to people in 10 minutes? It just overwhelms them. Well, if they, Kim, I understand what you're saying, but see, what we're doing is we're putting stuff out in little pieces, okay? Like somebody's not going to come up and say, oh, can you tell me about Satan's plan to take over the earth? Well, I know that's a little dramatic, but like if they say, what's going on with Biden? You say, well, he's obviously probably going to fall under the 25th Amendment, but I don't think it matters because he's not the one calling the shots. Obama in the basement. Leave it at that. And if Kamala gets in, it'll still be Obama in the basement telling them what to do. That's enough to get them to look at their own information, their own thoughts. Talk to other friends that'll do some of the heavy lifting for you. You go subject by subject. Each subject you'll be able to talk about without getting into the things that people talk about for clicks. They want clicks, So they'll talk about the Jews and the cabal and thousands of years, and I'm not getting into that with anybody. I'll do a broadcast on that Rumble where I can talk freely, and I will lay things out where you'll never pay attention to that stuff again, ever. We don't blame any particular faith, any color, or creed for what's going on in this country. It's people that are falling for a satanic message, people who are falling for a narrative that is in opposition with God's word. That's the bottom line. That's the crux of it. And if you're logical, if you have a brain, the fool says there is no God. Okay? If you're logical, you will understand and you will acknowledge there's a God, and you will. It's like the German commander said, the tank commander. He said, somebody tells you that they don't believe in God, let me put them in one of the tanks during World War II for 10 minutes. They'll believe in God. But that's a little rough analogy. But the bottom line is everything that's taught, what Jesus taught, what the Ten Commandments put forth, for a logical person, like my father said in his final years, it is the best way. It is the best path to a fulfilling life, a happy life. Okay? And the wages of sin are death. So, in many ways, the Bible, it's like Ronald Reagan said, doesn't science prove what morality teaches us? If you live in a filthy manner, you're going to get sick. Same thing with your brain. You let things enter your mind, and that pollute your mind. You're not going to find happiness. You're not going to know the truth about things. What is this thing that's going around, this transgenderism thing with a 50% suicide rate? It is a direct conflict with reality. It is a direct conflict with reality. And if you live in conflict with reality and you cannot reconcile with reality, you'll be miserable. You'll be miserable. And hence a 50% suicide rate. So without getting into, I'm talking about getting into, especially the spaceships, especially about Elvis being alive, any of that kind of stuff is being tossed out there for people to make themselves look foolish. Really, much of it can be discussed in a theological sense. A theological sense is where the answer is. But you don't want to go through the whole kit and caboodle with somebody who's just waking up. Yeah, it's frustrating, Kim. I see what you're saying. But if freedom was easy, everybody would have it. And many are called and few are chosen. I mean, if you have a friend that asks what's going on, you say, maybe the best thing to say to him at first is, I am so relieved that do you know how many people don't think there's something going on? That is a great first step, my friend, that you see something is wrong. That's the first step. Now, what's wrong? Take it, use that tact. What is wrong? We've got somebody that's obviously in that office that has gotten us into wars, whose son has committed blatant crimes, and people are sticking up for him, covering up for him. Just about everybody in the government is appearing corrupt, and if it walks like a duck, it's quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Maybe that's the first way to start off. Why do they want us to own nothing and be happy? They'll say, "What do you mean by that?" Well, then you could say, "Here's a article from if you have a copy, a screenshot in your phone. This is what the World Economic Forum said. They want us to own nothing and be happy to save the earth from climate change." Well, then leave it at that. Leave it at that. Let them ask the questions. You don't got to guide them down the path. They'll get concerned enough to be asking you. That's right, Robin. It's like keeping mosquitoes from going through a chain link fence. But I tell you, especially with your family members, people talk so little about the Bible and so little about apocalyptic times, about prophecy in the Word. You got to dust it off with your friends and family members. You got to dust it off and say, look, these words are thousands of years old. Look how it's playing into today. And people get uncomfortable talking about the Bible or talking about the Word, but there's so much that I've discussed in the past that apply to what's going on today. But it boils down to we have a group of people who've got control of our governments that are preaching things directly in opposition to what we've been taught in the Bible. That statement I just made right there is inarguable, and it doesn't get deep into Scripture. But it's a fact. There are people in control of our government and governments around the world that are pushing agendas and a way of life that are in conflict with what we've been taught in the Bible. That is probably the simplest way to start the conversation. I knew I'd get it arranged in my head somehow, some way, but that's inarguable. And what isn't if they respond positively, that say, yeah, you're right. Then you let them vent and talk a little bit. Then you just say, well, there's only one entity I know that is in conflict with God. And then let them answer who that is. That one entity who's in conflict with God. Not that entity's constructs. Marxism is a construct of Satan, okay? Baal, Moloch, all these names, okay, the Bohemian Grove Owl, all that stuff, the Aztec Temple, all that stuff are constructs of Satan, okay? So that's probably the easiest way without getting into, oh, well, at the Bohemian Grove, they do this, and the Moloch worshipers with the Khazarian Mafia, no, stay away from all that. It's simple. There's only one person I know, one entity, and one entity walking this earth that is in opposition to God. And if they can't figure that one out, you got a lot of work to do with your friend. So, and Honey left a real. Honey was in the conversation last night, wasn't she? She left a long comment. I'm gonna read that off in two segments. Let's see. That's right, Wanda. They can't hide it anymore. Matthew. Yeah, it looks pretty good, doesn't it? I got the put the eyeballs on there. 2 eyeballs. And Gary, you're right. I tell you what, in my darkest hour, you think you're alone and you never alone. All you got to do is reach out. He's sitting there right next to you listening and waiting for a conversation with you, and that is the truth. Hello, Mr. Kibler. Wait a minute, I got a message here. Thank you, Gary. Here, I've gone over an hour and I didn't mention it. Gary has come through for me again. I have to tell you what, Gary, your support is very much appreciated. Folks, this is a viewer-supported and creator-supported channel only. I wouldn't be able to do this without y'all helping me out. Here's everybody that's helped with the channel. Kirsten helped out. I've got to add somebody on there. I haven't had a chance to yet, but this is everybody that's helped with the channel since the beginning. And like I just said, Gary, thank you much, buddy. I think it's good that we sit here and cogitate over how we respond to people that are starting to wake up. And what Gary just said, he's sitting there right next to you waiting to have a conversation. That's one way to put it. A very good way. Like I said, my darkest hour, he was there. So, and I don't think I'll ever have another hour that dark again because of that, right? I'll never have to go into that, no matter what. So, and also what I was discussing about the fact of the matter, the French government, the Canadian government, the Australian government, you can name them all off. They're all pushing agendas that are in conflict with God's word. Why is that? You can ask your friend that. And who is the one person? And you can tell your friend, hey, if you don't believe that Satan's walking this earth, if you don't believe in God, I really, that really hurts my heart for you, if you don't believe in God. If you can't see this struggle that's going on right now, and you can't discern who the struggle is between, that's your first step in understanding what's going on. That's why the talk about spaceships, the talk about aliens, the talk about artificial intelligence, the talk about all the things I mentioned with these other characters, I won't go over again, is so unhealthy because it's so simple. It is so simple what they're doing. And what each and every one of them, how deep they're into it, how committed they are. When you can go from the officer at the Capitol that interrupted those children singing. He's part of it, but he's probably, he's not into their ceremonies but he is definitely serving a master. But he may very well be thinking, oh, I'm a good person. I believe in God. I go to church. But he's serving a different master when he did that. So you have operatives that have been suckered into walking up the steps of that temple. at all different ranges. And of course, the puppet masters at the very top are having ceremonies openly pushing a satanic agenda. I believe that 100%. But I don't have to make it a big mystery. I don't have to act like I'm Sherlock Holmes. I don't have to get into ghost stories when I'm talking to somebody. It's enough for me to say that the majority of people in power in Western governments right now are pushing an agenda that is in conflict with the Bible. So let me read Honey's. Maybe we broke some ground there. Maybe we broke some ground with that position, taking that position. The Honey McCann, now she's our friend from the United Kingdom. She said, "Great info, Mountain Man. I agree with your view on President Trump. We get him. We get what's going on. But at the time, many didn't." Now, that's when I was talking about when that person confronted Mr. T about the VAX. Okay. And Honey said many didn't get him at the time. Can you imagine if he had gone against the arm thing? The fake news would have a field day, having everyone believe he was trying to finish people off. If he had to do what was needed, he had to do what was needed, like many other great leaders have had to do. It's not a great position. It's tough, and they have to live with the decisions they took. That's what separates them as great leaders. Now I'm going to interrupt that right there because she's got more to say. But I did point this out during World War II, what Honey's talking about. Sometimes leaders have to make the best of a bad choice, two bad choices. I talked about Winston Churchill. He had gotten information that the Germans were going to blitzkrieg London. He knew the time. He knew the day. It was when they cracked the Enigma code. That's a different thing in history. Many of you probably know about, many of you don't. They cracked the Enigma code and the Germans never found out. Well, they intercepted the message and decoded it, and they found out when this blitzkrieg was going to happen in London, and they knew when and where and everything. Churchill couldn't say anything because if he did, they would have figured out they cracked the code. So he had to be quiet. The city got bombed and people died. It was one of the toughest things decisions he had to make, and he had to live with that decision. So she's drawing a parallel to that. And then she goes on to say, look at President Lincoln, knowing all those men that fought to ensure slavery did not become enshrined in law. He hardly slept carrying that great weight of loss. But I thank God for him and for what he did. The landscape of war has changed, but it's exactly the same principle. So, yes, that would have been very hard to put in chats, but she saved it up and put it in a comment later on. And they're all very valid points. And they reinforce what I was discussing about how Mr. T handled the JAB. Okay? He told people he felt other treatments were just as effective. He said he didn't want them mandated. And all the other issues I talked about yesterday. So anyway, folks, let's see what's going on. So now, and we're going through this situation. It is biblical, but it doesn't mean it is the end. And I always want to remind people that no one knows the time and the hour. No one knows the day and hour, folks. This could be a prelude to it. It could be 500 years, it could be 1,000 years, it could be people could get raptured tonight, for all I know. But then again, it could be 1,000 years from now. And this is just one of the steps towards that. Nobody knows. We just always got to operate in a manner which we've been taught. Okay, we've got to maintain our behavior along with the Bible and God's word. That's right, Kim. It is frightening. And when you think about your friends and family member, and people don't talk about it, uh, about the Bible and about God. I mean, I'm not saying to become a street preacher, and that's why I figure that what I was talking about earlier would be such an effective approach. Such an effective approach. It is the first time it is being exposed in history that the agenda of all these governments are pushing against God. Every one of them. It's being exposed. It's probably been that way for 100 years or hundreds of years, but we're seeing it. It's undeniable. Well, it's one of the seven deadly sins, Cheshire's insight. That is funny. They name a whole month out of one of the seven deadly sins. What are we going to have? Gluttony month? Well, they got nothing to be proud about. I can tell you that. What's there to be proud about? Trying to indoctrinate little ones. There's nothing to be proud about there. So I'm just reading through the chats, and if I missed anybody's name, I apologize. Hi, Dixie. Oh, sweetheart, I appreciate that. They added another part. Yeah, I watched the children sing that song at the Capitol. They added another part. I'm not clear on that, Dixie. I know you're not being smart, honey. I just saw it last night. It was really late, and I saw it this or later on today. So I'm not sure what part they added, Dixie. I'm not sure. But I did see a guy just come up and shush them. He shushed them, and he got the composer to stop. Yeah, that's right. They were lined up for it, Kim. Yeah, the Israelites. I messed up the other night, Gary. I said Jews. I should have said Israelites, but I was talking really fast. But of course, yeah, it's the same God today, eternal and never changing. We're in a slavery. We're under Pharaoh's slavery. We're just and hopefully they'll lead us out of it. They've turned even our system of government starting in 1916 when they started. They gave a faceless entity the ability to take the sweat of your brow, your wages. When they started doing that, that was the gateway to slavery. Now they tax it every little thing you can think of, and I'll get into that in another broadcast. But whatever happened at the Capitol, whatever the details were, Dixie, it was a bad look. It was a bad look. When you got well-behaved, nicely dressed children like that, and their voices were so well trained and beautiful, and they're praising the nation, and they're singing a patriotic song. Uh, they're just no good look to going up and breaking it up and pushing people out of the way. No good look to it. So let me see. I think Honey's might have been the last comment. Yeah. So I got a couple little reports from Clandestine. You know, Clandestine is big on the BIO uh, labs in Ukraine. And, you know, what's something we got to suffer through now is watching all these. We don't have to watch it, but it's going to be shown all over the place again about Hunter Biden with the prostitutes. But there's a lot of information in that computer about the BIO labs, right? And it's all coming together with the accusations from Russia. China's attempting to defend itself from being solely blamed for that. They're starting to put out stories and hints that they were sent the pathogen. It was sent to them. And the outbreak may have occurred, but they're not the ones that developed it. So get the point? See what I'm saying? All that stuff's going to be coming together out of this laptop. And you pile on top of that, if that isn't enough for somebody to wake up or doesn't push their buttons when they start seeing these J6 videos coming out. But one thing about Hunter Biden, Clandestine put out, when are we going to have a public conversation about Hunter Biden being an incestuous P3DO? Okay. This family is in the White House. This is, quote, the smartest guy Joe knows. This is the guy who owns BIO labs and secured DOD funds for corona research in Ukraine before 2019. That's some very serious business. And he's going to flip. He's going to flip because he's not smart enough to do that. He's just what we used to call a stick man. He was a stick man. That's why I think he's rolling over. But I'll tell you what, I got a truth from Lisa Mae Crowley. I'm gonna close out with this truth from Lisa Mae Crowley. And it plays into what I was talking about last night and what I'll be talking about in future evenings. She mentions the 17 letter, okay? An article that they posted 8 times and stressed reading the article carefully and often. I've got an excerpt I'll read to you all from it. But Lisa Mae Crowley goes on to say, Huber worked with Horowitz, plus a staff of 470 investigators. Horowitz is still the DOJ Inspector General. Storch is the National Security Administration's Inspector General. Huber, Horowitz, and Storch. 3 inspector generals. It's what you don't see. And I'll repeat that last sentence in case my volume went out. Durham is not the only game in town. You got Huber, Horowitz, and Storch. They're inspector generals that have been on this situation. Horowitz report is the one that was highlighted on Fox News that talked about Clinton Foundation crimes against humanity. And an excerpt from the article says that point is critical about the three inspector generals. Because as Sessions' March 29th letter explains, the inspector general's jurisdiction to conduct civil and criminal investigations includes actions taken by former employees after they have left government service. Then Huber can act on any of those matters. Okay? He goes on to say, as a U.S. attorney, Huber has full authority to impanel a grand jury and to file criminal charges. A grand jury can be impaneled anywhere, which means it could be a group of citizens from deep red Utah in the heart of Trump country instead of the D.C. swamp that decides whether to hand down indictments for felony prosecution. So I'll post that little article in one of my picture shows, but you guys get the gist of it. Inspector generals can impanel grand juries anywhere in this country. They have the authority to impanel grand juries and indict and prosecute people. And it doesn't have to be in the Magic Kingdom or its satellite states known as Virginia and Maryland. Okay? So with that in mind, folks, and knowing that Jeff Sessions appointed those people, all right, and you know that Bill Barr appointed Durham, just remember, we got to root them all out and we got to document it all. We can't just say, I think they were going to commit a crime. Or I think they did commit a crime, like they were saying about Hunter Biden. He's smoking crack right onto the computer and nobody's arrested him. Well, any lawyer worth their beans would say, you don't know what's in that pipe. He could be smoking pipe tobacco. Have you got a sample of what was in that pipe that you're saying my client was smoking? Or are you slandering my client? Oh, you got a sample of it? What was the chain of custody? What was the chemical analysis? That's the way stuff like that works. Not a bunch of people getting on YouTube and making videos. How come Hunter Biden hadn't been arrested for smoking crack? There's no way in HE double hockey sticks anybody could prove what he was smoking. That's not the point. We're going to get all the criminals that are in that laptop, all the ones whose names are associated with what's been going on. There is such a deep investigation going on. 470 investigators, that's just for Horowitz. That's just for Horowitz. How many has Storch got? How many has Huber got? We're talking thousands of investigators. So keep that in mind, folks. This didn't happen overnight, and it ain't going to get cured overnight. So anyway, I've taken up enough for you all's time, and I appreciate everybody spending their precious time with me, and I appreciate everybody that's helped me out on the Buy Me a Coffee link. Gary is the latest to have helped me out, and Kirsten helped me out last night. I appreciate it so much. And like I say, leave a comment. And, you know, if it's something I disagree with, I am not going to mock anybody. I mean, I've done that in comments I've gotten in other videos where people have attacked me or insulted me, and I threw a stink bomb at them, and then I put the comment up, but I still block their name out. I don't put their name up. But anyway, if anybody wants to continue discussions in the comments, or if they have a thought that comes to them, gee, you know, this is maybe an issue. As long as it doesn't violate guidelines or get me in any kind of trouble, or if it's not mean-spirited or something like that, hey, you know, everybody left great comments. Everybody left great comments. Gary left me one, said he helps out because I'm over the target. Ha ha ha. So good. I hope I am. But uh, yeah, when something comes to you, make a little note of it. Put it in the comments. And it's fun to talk in the chats. That's great, and we do share a lot of good information. But afterwards, uh, check out what other people have to say, and they may say something in a way that you can repeat when you're dealing with your friends or your family members. So it's a learning process, right, folks? I don't think we had any trolls tonight. I hope not. I've been watching because Nikki's with her family. We're all thinking about Nikki. We all appreciate Nikki. And thank you, Robin. I appreciate you too, sweetheart. Hi, Jason. How are you? No, we won't get out of it easy, but well, things could be a lot worse. Things could have been a lot worse. If Mr. T didn't get that VAX rolled out, man, they'd have had us shut down. Never mind the mask. They would have just started doing what they're doing in Australia. Read those stories. But anyway, I will stand firm, the cat. So you all have a great night, and I'll probably go live tomorrow. We'll see. I might do a I might be on both sites. I don't know yet. We'll see how it goes. Or if not, I'll just show up here like I'm showing up tonight if they don't mess with me. So you all have a great night. I'll be talking to you soon. This is Mountain Man, over and out.